Hi everyone. Today I want to do a multi-part video on how to create a quiz app. If you're like my kids, they get magazines. One of the magazines they get is something called Rick Ranger. And in Rick Ranger, you can scan a QR code and do a quiz by a company called Kahoot. And the quiz basically looks like this. It'll have a question up top. It'll have a picture here, or animated image, and then you have to pick what the right answer is. And once you pick the right answer, it gives you feedback on whether or not you are correct. And then it will count some points for you. And then once you click on next, it'll give you the next question and you can make a choice. And so we're going to try to mimic this title slash question up here, throw an image in here, and then we'll do kind of multiple choices down here. And that's the thought behind this app. We'll also try to include a timer so that when you answer it right away, you get more points until your timer runs out, and then you get fewer points. And at the end, we'll kind of show a total points and score. All right, so let's get into it. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, of course, you'll open up Xcode, and we will create a new Xcode project. And of course, it'll be an iOS application. And we will call it a quiz app. And put it in whatever folder you want to. And of course, I'm always a fan of creating that Git repository. All right. So while it's loading up, we're going to make this window a little bit bigger. I'm going to close this side panel. I'm going to reduce my preview so that way you can see exactly what's going on in the code. All right. So let's just go ahead and get started. We'll do the screen layout probably for this video and just maybe create the quiz model. But then next videos, I will probably actually do a view model and start using that to become, the brain behind this quiz engine. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get rid of all of this. We don't need that portion of it. But I do want to have a background. So we're going to start with a Z-stack. So this will, we'll do a background photo here. So background, and then we'll have, the question here. So in the background, you could use an image, and you could probably put something in here, make it resizable, and ignores the safe area. For this one, I think I'm just going to do a little gradient. So you can do what's called a linear gradient, and you'll see that over here it asks what the colors are and what your start and stop points are. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to do colors, and it actually takes an array of colors. So it wants to know what colors you want. So in theory, you could do the entire rainbow of colors. For me, let's just do red, and we'll finish it with maybe a blue. And we'll start with the top leading edge. So it's a point at the top, leading corner of a view. And maybe the end point will be the bottom trailing. Points at the bottom trailing corner of a view. So that'll give you kind of a little bit of a cool little gradient. And so we also want it to fill everything up, so we're going to ignore the safe area. And I'm actually going to change my preview here from an iPhone 14 to actually I'm going to add an additional simulator. I always like to add the phone that you're actually going to use. Since you're creating these apps for yourself and your family, just pick whatever phone you want to use yourself, because that's you're just going to end up that's the experience you're gonna have. So I'm just gonna make it the 12 Pro Max, and we'll go from there. All right, next up we want to lay out that question. And if you remember the first video, the questions were up top, then we had an image, and then we had the choices down here. So on top of the Z stack, let's put a vertical stack, and we'll do a title. So we'll do text let's call it Wild Turkey Quiz. And we'll adjust the fonts a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, make the color. So let's do font, and we'll make it a system font, and we will make it a size of, again, this is all something that you could play with afterwards. Make it a size 30. Let's make it bold as well. What else can we do? Let's make it maybe a cool design. Let's make it rounded. That's what the letters look like now. And that didn't seem to do much, but that's all right. And maybe we'll just add a little padding around it. I also keep my phone in dark mode, so I'm going to make the dark appearance just so we can see what this looks like in dark mode. Alright, so far so good. Next, we'll probably want to put in our text for our quiz question. So here will be quiz text question here. And we'll probably want to adjust the font as well. So I'm going to copy this line. And anytime we copy things like this, I'm going to later on have to refactor this to make it a little bit easier to read and better to read in terms of coding. But for now, just to lay things out, I am going to do it in such a way that it is, I'm just going to duplicate things for now. So let me just test to see what happens if this gets really long. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm okay with this text question. I don't have any issues with that. And then finally, I want to add an image. And I did download some images. So let me bring up my doc. And I had 3 turkeys and a turkey image I downloaded. I also downloaded a background, but I actually think I'm just going to use the gradient today. You can obviously put in a background if you'd like. So again, you're going to drag these images in here, make sure they are loaded, and then back over here, let's load the turkey image. Turkey. All right, so we have an image there. And let me just make sure I spelled that right. Turkey, yeah. So it should load. And if not, I'll have to double check to see why it didn't load. But let's see if that is coming up. All right, so let me just double check what I did wrong here. I did call it turkey. All right, so let me build it just to make sure it's being brought in. Let's go back to our content view. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, so obviously way too big. And by now, hopefully, you can do resizable. Let's make it scale to fit so it doesn't look all stretched. And let's see what happens. All right, so we have our image there. And I think the first question here was something like wild turkeys live all over the US except, so let's do that. And then down here, we're going to have our answer choices. So the challenge with the answer choices is, if you recall the previous video, it's kind of 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 choices. Right now I'm going to lay it out manually, and then later on we'll do a loop using a for each and probably a lazy vgrid. But for right now, just to kind of see what everything looks like, I'm just going to lay it out here. So we're going to do a vertical stack here again. Sorry, a H stack. We're going to actually lay a horizontal stack because I want 2 buttons side by side. So we'll do a button, and we're also going to, this will be, when they click on it, something will happen. Basically, it'll check to see if it's the right choice. And here, we're actually going to do a text and use a system image in here. So I think you can only do this on later versions of Xcode, so just keep this in mind. But basically, if you recall the previous or what the Kahoot looked like, in front of each of the choices, they had basically a image of like a triangle or a square or a diamond. So I'm going to pull one of those system images, so you can see a triangle fill, and then after this I will, I think it was Kansas or something. Right. So that's the first choice. And of course, I want to make sure that I add a little bit of weight and everything to that. And again, you can see that I'm repeating a lot of these things. I'm going to cut and paste, not a good practice, so we'll have to probably create some sort of, default font, view or something like that, and then I'll end up using that view to actually display text. So basically a custom text view, so to speak, and we'll get to that in a minute. So let's do 30, and I'd also like to think about dropping maybe a frame in here somewhere. So maybe oops, did not like the width. Oh, there we go. So let's do width as 200 and maybe the height as 50, something like that. We'll make the background red, so each choice had a different background color, and the foreground color needs to change because I'm not going to be able to read that, and we'll make that white for now. And let's make a little bit of a button, so let's just do the corner radius as 2, something like that. Make it look a little bit more like a button. All right. Didn't seem to do much. Let's make it 5. Okay, so a little bit more of a little button there. So you can see there's one button there. So we'll just copy and paste this again, and we're going to put our second button in here. And again, obviously, we're going to have to make some changes because this is not the exact way we want to do all of this. So let's go. All right. And we'll make the background for this one blue. So I can see already, we're going to want to repeat all of this 4 times. So I'm going to copy this H stack here, and we're just going to do it twice. 4 choices. That's the maximum number of choices we'll take. These system images will probably stay the same throughout. But the thing that will change here is the words here and the background color. So let's actually make this orange. That's a little hard to see. And let's see, I think it was square time. Let's make it this a circle. All right, and I think we'll make this I don't know, Virginia, and so I think the answer actually for this is Alaska. So we'll do the background color as green here, and we'll change this to Texas. All right. So now we have our choices here, and the idea is that they'll see the screen. And for the first kind of parts of these videos, we're going to just get the quiz to work. Then we'll add in a progress bar to kind of count down, and the lower the time gets, the fewer points you get, and then we'll try to show like a point screen at the end. Okay. So now that we are all done with this, we do have it laid out. We should really start looking at creating that model. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So we're going to do a new file, and we will make this just a regular Swift file. And I'm going to call it quiz model. All right, so we're going to create this, and I might have to change some things as we go along, but that's all right. So in this model, what I'm thinking is we will have a struct of a quiz model, and in this struct, we will have a question, of course. So whatever question is, we'll need an image. So I'll call it question image, and this is like the turkey, right? And we're going to have an answer, whatever the right answer is, and we'll make it, we'll probably, now I think about it, in one of the other apps I did, I just tried to compare the answer string to the to what the option string was, but I think in this one I'll try it with potentially a choice ID, so A, B, or C, A, B, C, or D, and we'll compare it. So the answer will be A, B, C, or D. And then finally we'll have our choices. So I want basically a choice list, and this will actually be an array of quiz choices, which I haven't written yet. So let's write that right now. Struct quiz choices, and in this we will have that choice ID that I was talking to you about. So this will be a string, and the idea is that the string should line up with whatever the answer is. So we'll have A, B, C, or D for a choice ID, and the answer will also be A, B, C, or D. All right, and then we will do a variable for choice text. So this is this will be like Kansas or Alaska or something like that. Also a string. And then I'm going to do two booleans here. We'll use these later on, but if it's selected, we'll do a trigger on whether or not when it gets selected, and then if it's correct. And if it's correct, we'll have something that that happens, differently. All right. So I think this is how I want to lay it out. I might have to do some refactoring now that I'm thinking a little bit more about it, because maybe I won't need the answer here if I have this boolean flagged as the right answer. Okay, but we'll tackle that a little bit later as I think through this. So let's go ahead and just create this data model here, and I will probably move this. I don't like putting the actual model in this quiz model. We'll probably move it into a view model later, but since I haven't created that view model, let's just try to lay this out. So we're going to have quiz data as a array of quiz models because we're going to do many of these questions, okay? And the thought here is it's going to look something like this. We're going to have an array, right? This is going to be an array of a bunch of quiz models, and each quiz model, as you know up here, needs these 4 items. So we'll do quiz model. This is going to be the first one in the array, the 0 position. I'm just going to hit enter and have it put everything in there for me. Wild turkeys live in every US state except, let me just make this, put the punctuation correctly. All right, and the question image is turkey, and the answer is going to be something below. Not sure yet. We're going to do our choices first. Let's make it look a little bit better. Should hit enter after each of these commas so they all line up a little bit. And this choice is also, choice list is an array of quiz choices. All right, so we're going to do an array of quiz choices. All right, so it's going to look something like this, and our choices are going to look something like quiz choice, and the choice ID, this will be like the letter A, and the text will be, for example, Florida. All right, and I'm just going to copy and paste this a bunch of times. I can't remember what I used in my example, but something like, this will be B, C, and D. Answer will be the letter B. I think this was Alaska. I think the answer is Alaska. So let's do that. Alaska, Hawaii, and Texas. All right. So we have this set up here, and let's just add another question, and I'm going to speed up the video here so you don't have to actually watch me do this. And I forgot my commas here, but now this is an array of quiz choices. We're going to do another quiz model, so we're going to do another question, and I'll speed it up here. So now we have two choices in here. I think, I think we should be okay. Let me go ahead and build this by using Command and B, just to see if I've messed anything up. And I'm hoping that'll get a build succeeded. Okay, very good. So now we go back to our content view, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? So instead of putting in the text here, the idea will be that I will do something like a quiz data, right? Is what I called it. Dot. Oh, sorry. Maybe the first one here in the quiz data, and we'll do dot question, right? Something like that, right? So in theory, so we should see nothing change here. Let's change it to question number 1 here. Yep, what is a male turkey called? So you can kind of see where I'm going with this, right? So down here, instead of this image being here, I'm going to do quiz data, and this is going to be, I think I called it question image, right? So we're going to have that, and then for each of these questions, I'm going to keep these images and fill in these answers. So it's going to be something like quiz data 1 dot choice list, and then it's going to loop through all the choices. So we'll start with a 0, and it's going to be whatever the choice text is. And this will look something like that, right? So you got rooster, and then this will be Alaska. If I keep going down, or Alaska will change to whatever I did in my first quiz data. So you can kind of see that I'm going to be doing a loop through all the quizzes with this, using this index as we go through. And then for each of these quiz questions, we'll have a bunch of choices, and I'm going to loop through this basically 4 times to create this. And that's the basic idea and basic layout. And what we'll do at this point is I want to make these videos a little bit shorter, so I'm going to stop here. And in the next video, we will start probably refactoring a lot of this, making this more dynamic and things like that. And I'll start doing a view model as well. So that's the basic idea. Stay tuned. I hope to get the next one out in a week or so. Thank you very much.